Okay, guys, welcome to Social Days. I thought today, in light of what happened yesterday, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the news, hopefully. So I want to talk, and maybe you've heard them talk about the 25th Amendment. So we went over the first 10. Remember, there was the Bill of Rights, and the 25th is down a little bit lower. It doesn't come up very often, but it has been coming up. It's about removing the president. So I want to show you a quick video about the 25th Amendment, and then got a little bit, we'll break it down a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I think I reset that, you guys. But um, so basically, what that was saying is there wasn't really a formal process for if the president died, who would become president. Okay, so we've always had a vice president, but it wasn't formally in our Constitution. So, um, and then when John Kennedy was assassinated, she talked about that. We really realized we had to kind of come up with a formal precedent to have someone take over to become the president. But what they started talking about, I'm going to bring this amendment up here. You could also, Ronald Reagan was also, he was assassinated. He wasn't killed, but while he was in the hospital, the vice president took over the duties. Because we don't only have one president at a time, one leader. So just in case, if we ever got attacked, the president is the one that has the nuclear code. So it's important to make sure that we know who's really in charge of our country. But there's also a provision there that talks about, if he can't do his duties, if basically becomes mentally incapacitated or something. And that's what some people were talking about yesterday. So Section 1 of the 25th Amendment says, in case of the removal of president from office or her death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. So it asks you to summarize this in your own words. All that's saying is if the president dies or resigns, the vice president would take over. And that makes sense because, he's second in charge. Okay. Section 2 of the 25th Amendment, and that's right here, it talks about whenever there's a vacancy for the office of vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both the House and Congress. So, like currently, if Mike Pence, our current vice president, died or resigned, the president would nominate another vice president, and then both the House and the Senate would have to approve him. And that's about the vice president. Okay. And Section 3, it says, whenever the president transmit the president pro temp or the Senate, and that's a person in the Senate, and the Speaker of the House has written declaration that he's unable to discharge the powers or duties of his office until he transmits them in a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by a vice president and acting president. So what this is saying is he's unable to do what he's supposed to do in office. And how that works, his cabinet, and that's all the secretaries like education, transportation, defense. If enough of them think that he can't do his job, they would write a letter to, like it says in here, the President pro tempore Senate and the Speaker of the House. So right now, Speaker of the House would be Nancy Pelosi, and the President pro tempore would be Chuck Grassley. So his cabinet could write a letter to them saying they don't think the president's fit to do his jobs, and he can be removed. Okay. Basically, the Senate and both House would have to vote. I think they'd have to have like 66 votes in the Senate out of 100, and 2/3 of the 538 in the House, or 438, excuse me, would have to vote to remove him from office. So chances of that happening are pretty low, but it could happen. And that could be, basically if the president, basically just isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing. And after yesterday, a lot of people thought maybe that was the case. So that's how that would happen. Okay. And this is Section 4. So in the 25th Amendment, it has 4 sections, 1, 2, 3. We've covered the first 3. This is the 4th. This says whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive department, such as bodies of Congress, may by law provide, transmit the president pro tempore Senate, Speaker of the House has written declaration the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the acting president. So it says thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House represents his written declaration, that no inability exists, he shall resume the power due to his office unless the vice president and a majority of either the principal offices of the executive department, such body, Congress may by law provide transmit within 4 days. The president pro tempore of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers due to his office. Okay, all that means, I'll simplify. So they could say he's unable to do his duties, but he could say, yes, I am. Okay, so that's maybe what happened right now. Probably most presidents wouldn't say, I'm not going to do my duties. And that's when it would go to basically Congress to, I got a little bit ahead there. That's when it would go to Congress to, so Section 3, they would say he can't do it. And if he says I can do it, then it goes to Congress, where they have to have 2/3 of a vote. And 66 senators say he's unable to do his duties. And then of the 438, whatever 2/3 of that is, then he would be discharged, and the vice president would take over the duties as president. Okay, I know it's a little deep, you guys. Certainly this is not going to probably come up on the test, but I thought it was just important for us to kind of go over that. It's just so when you're hearing in the next couple of days about the 25th Amendment, you have an idea what that means. It's just basically saying the president really is unfit to continue to carry out the duties of the presidency. So that's all I have for today, you guys. Hopefully you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.